What's up, everybody? My name is Chris, and this beautiful woman is...
I'm Rae.
Oh, my goodness. And we are back with another episode of the series that is breaking the internet, the series that is sweeping the YouTube, the series that is making podcasts literally rethink why they were invented in the first place. Stuff we didn't say on Sunday.
Welcome.
How's that for an introduction?
I think that was a little bit far-fetched, but...
Well, yeah, that could have been my middle name, though. A little bit far-fetched.
Far-fetched Fletcher.
Okay, sure. Funny. Speaking of weird family history, I thought we would start off this episode by maybe let's just come clean about who we are and how we're related and who we're related to. Do you want to? Yeah. You want to fess up in front of the people? Because I think it's going to have... Today we're going to talk about stuff we didn't say on Sunday, and we're going to talk about stuff that kind of happened in the worship series, but we're going to specifically kind of hone in on the idea of worship. I said a lot during that series that we choose worship. You got to exercise your will and choose worship, and we're going to get a little bit off script, talking about worshiping in the midst of pain and challenge and difficulty with the family.
Completely off script, I will add. We have no script.
Yeah, exactly. There's the script, so we're already off of it. So that's fantastic. But I thought it would make sense to the fine people at home to maybe give them a little explanation as to who we are and why I keep interrupting you.
Okay.
So my name is Christopher Michael Fletcher. My middle name is Michael because I'm the oldest son of Michael Fletcher, the senior pastor of the Manna Church here in Fayetteville from the 80s until 2 years ago. 3 years ago, whatever. And I led corporate musical worship at the Manna Church in some form or fashion, whether that's youth band or something. I've been on a musical stage at Manna Church since I was 15, and I led here in some form or capacity for 24 years, including almost a decade as the worship pastor.
Wow. That's incredible.
You're making fun.
No, I'm not. No, that's really incredible.
Yeah, it was a lot. The thing is, and here's where the family tie-in comes. I don't think that shocked anybody. Yes, I'm related to Samuel. Yes, he's married to Caitlin. No, my assistant Lauren is not my wife. She is my sister. We get that a lot. People call and be like, I spoke to your wife. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you didn't. They're like, yeah, Lauren. It's like, no, we have the same last name because we're brother and sister. But I became the worship pastor following a great worship pastor before who was...
Yes. My dad.
Oh!
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So, that is actually why I came here. My father...
Wait a minute. I thought you came here because you thought I was good looking.
That's why I stayed.
Oh, zing.
Yes, that's why I stayed. So I was raised a worship pastor's daughter.
Oh, man.
And so my dad, I grew up, my dad was, he was more than the worship pastor. I grew up in New Jersey. I was raised in New Jersey, born in New Jersey. My grandfather was a pastor, and my dad was many different titles there, but he was a worship pastor. And so I have been a part of the worship team since I was actually a baby because, believe it or not, I actually have been involved around worship, I guess, more than you. Because when I was a baby, you remember when we used to do cantatas? Did you guys do a lot of, you didn't do a lot of cantatas.
We did
and I don't even know
cantatas.
If people know what cantata is because that's not a word.
I thought cantata was like a type of dip that you get at a restaurant, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, they were like, we're going to do a cantata. And I was like, that sounds yummy.
Okay,
Seriously.
so it basically was like a play involving the worship teams of the church, and so it would have acting, but mostly singing. Yeah, actually, okay. Just like Chris. So when I was a baby, I was cast as baby Jesus.
Oh, wait, what?
I was.
I'm married to a heretic. What?
I was in the cantata as baby Jesus.
No.
So anyway, I've been a part of just around worship my entire life. I sang in the choirs when I was little. I had little solos. They weren't very good, in my opinion, but I guess it was.
Wow.
Anyway.
So, if we played a game, who's fallen asleep in more church services? Do you think you would win, or I would win?
think I would win.
Why do you think you would win? Because I was raised non-denominational.
Okay, because
and you were
yes,
raised...
I was going to say that. I was raised Pentecostal. So we would just have worship services that would go into the late hours of the evening every Sunday night. Every Sunday night, and we just, just let the Spirit move, and we end when it's time to end. And so I probably fell asleep every Sunday night on the front row.
Did you tell me that in preparation for Sunday night service, your family would have like mandatory Sunday afternoon nap time? Is that real?
We had mandatory nap time every Sunday. We would go to church all morning because my mother was also involved, and so she was like the children's director. And anyway.
Did you say who your dad is, by the way? I said I took over, but you didn't say his name.
No, my father's Wayne Tate.
Oh, my gosh.
The Wayne Tate.
The Wayne Tate.
And
I'm resisting the urge to applaud.
You should applaud for him. I think he's an applause-worthy. Anyway, so where was I going with this?
Nap time. Forced family nap time.
Sunday afternoons, we had to take afternoon naps because we didn't know how long we were going to be at church.
We had to prep for the Spirit's
Sunday
carrying.
evening. Anyway, all this to say, so I ended up moving here when I was 19. He was always involved in worship ministry. He went through a time of traveling worship ministry. And
you didn't move here from Jersey, though. You actually moved
from Nashville.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Why, though?
And so when we moved to Nashville, my father did like the traveling music ministry.
But not just that. Like he wrote for some. He was a writer for Integrity. Like he wrote for some really big names. Why do I know this more than you do?
No, I know this.
Oh, okay. No, Carry on then. I'm sorry. My fault.
Anyway, so he also
Wayne's taking notes. He knows more.
He also was on worship teams at our church, and so anyway, I've always been around worship. And then when we moved here, he was the worship pastor here.
That's right.
So yeah, I am deep rooted in worship.
You win. That's so good.
Yeah.
And when I met you, and then you started going out, and even after we got married, we were in the choir.
We were in the choir together
for a little period of time.
We were in the choir together. That's actually how our relationship kind of took like a jump start.
One of the many ways that we got down that path together.
Because, we would always do because our choir was a small group, and so we would always do like dinners together, and I thought you were really cute, and so that was a lot of fun. It was
after a Thursday night rehearsal that I tried to get your phone number, and you gave me your AOL Instant Messenger screen name.
I think at that point I was like, I don't know about the phone number, but let's go with the I'm just teasing.
What?
No, that's when AOL was the thing. It was it actually
Why does the internet sound like that?
It was at
Have we talked about that before?
I don't know.
We were someplace, you and I were someplace. We were checking out.
It was
yesterday. And I heard something and I was like, "What? I hear the internet."
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes, he was loudly. I hear the internet.
Rachel wishes
Do you hear that?
Was inner more often than it was outer. Yeah, so I asked for your number. I mean, clearly it worked out, but I have always, now's the perfect time with cameras rolling and the microphone on. I have always wondered why when I was trying to get your digits, you were like, "And here's my screen name, fella." Like, were you like I'm not entirely sure yet, or like what was tell the people?
Have we talked about this before?
I don't think. This is the first time. We've never in our almost 20 years of marriage in a month and a half, we have never discussed why when I was like phone number, you were like screen name.
I'm remembering this differently.
Are you?
I am remembering this differently because
let's do it. This is important.
This is, you guys, I am going to admit that I was a little bit of a stalker. I still am a stalker. I just love him so much.
How much are they ready for? What is happening?
Okay, so before...
She's clenching my hand beneath the camera shot, but like not my hand. She's got my arm. I don't know what's going on here.
No.
This is fun.
So let me tell my
side. You go. Okay. I'm going to sit quietly.
So when I moved
and
here...
not interrupt you.
Manna had a phone book. And in the phone book, it gave out AOL screen names too.
It was called the Sheep's List.
It was.
Yes, because our logo was a sheep. But the sheep looked like it had Beats headphones on. So it was called the Sheep's List.
Okay, this was a weird time, okay? It was back in the...
We were all going through an odd time.
Back in the day.
We wore really baggy jeans, and we cut our hair in like this skater Johnny Depp situation.
Okay, so I actually already had Chris's... You know this. I've told you this before.
I know this part.
I already had his AOL screen name, and I added it to... I don't remember if you would like... You could search, you weren't friends. It was different than like Instagram and things like that now, but I could somehow put your name in and I could see when you would get on and offline. No, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
We have. Yeah, we have.
Okay.
It's just
so
odd.
I just would never message him because I didn't want to be that person that was, this is going off. This is too long. I didn't want to be that like person that I guess contacted. I wanted to play hard to get, basically, is what it was. And I wanted him to be the one to contact me first because I'm a little bit old school and I felt like if he had feelings for me, he should contact me. So I actually didn't ever. I would just sit there and stare at his name, go online and offline. And so anyway, it was after we were eating pizza and I went outside and we were standing there and I said something about, I have AOL, and I just was like, this is my name on AOL. And
I went right home. Right home. And everyone was like, hey, how was rehearsal? Like, get out of my way and shut up. I got to put this into the computer right now.
And so sure enough, I get online and then...
Oh, we were chatting online minutes later.
I think he got my phone number pretty quickly after because we were married the next year. So it was pretty fast.
Wow, we're going in deep revelations.
I love the worship team.
First date, 11 months later, we were honeymooning. Anyway, when you know, you know.
Yeah.
So I want to get, and you're the perfect foil for this because I've watched you live this as long as I've known you, and any more these days with 20 years of blissful marriage coming up in a few weeks, I can hardly remember my life without you. But as long as I've known you, you've been one of the people that I've looked to for inspiration in what I talked about in the message. Choose worship regardless of your circumstance. Now, you've grown up in the whole musical worship situation, but I made a really compelling case that worship is not what happens when you show up 52 times a year to a church service. Worship only has legs because you have a relationship with Jesus. So, how do you do it? I'll break that question down.
Please.
I've watched you in the midst of circumstances that would throw people off. I've watched you be human. So, I hope you don't mind if I tell people you're human and I'm human, which means we react, and sometimes we even react poorly. Circumstances happen and we're like upset and we're mad. And then at the same time, I was telling somebody earlier this week about you. You're so fiery, and you're so like, you don't if this is not flying, you don't mince words. Like you go for it. You're clear. But then there is such a quick thing inside of you, a gear shifts, and all of a sudden you're accessing God and you're accessing Him for that moment, and you're a totally different person. Now, I imagine some of that was probably falling asleep in Pentecostal worship services. And if only I hadn't been so non-denominational, I would have had that year as well. But, just start talking and I'll ask you some questions. Why is it so deeply ingrained in you, this
I think, so, worship, the musical worship, and then just the knowledge of knowing that you can worship God whenever. Like you always have access to Him. And so that to me is the just the knowledge of knowing He's always with me. I'm always having access to Him. And so
Can I prompt you with something that I know?
Yes.
When we were dating, we were talking on the phone, we were chatting or something, and I got off with you. And the next morning, I woke up, and I don't remember what I called you like right after I got up, but I called you pretty early in the day. Text message wasn't a thing. You actually had to call the lady and hear the melodious sound of her voice, which, at the risk of sounding old, is better sounding than
text message was
text.
a thing.
Was
we
it?
Just
Yeah, but it was almost flip
communicate.
phones. And so you had to like press the button
true.
a million times, and so you couldn't like text anything of substance.
I don't know. We
other than
talked,
like 10
yeah.
min. But I remember that because it was like we talked late. It was like 12:30 or 1 in the morning, and I was like, "Did you sleep well? What time did you go to bed?" And you said 2. And I said, "Why did you go to bed at 2?" And you said, "Because I will not." I'm gonna get emotional talking about it. I will not go to bed without reading the Word. Where did that?
Yeah.
What is your problem?
So.
How dare you?
No, obviously. I mean, I was raised in a good home, and I had that, that instilled in me, as a child growing up, having family devotions all the time, always practicing, like reading, and we do this with our kids, but I did this growing up, and then you did this growing up separately. We would take family devotions and read through Proverbs. And then, like if it's the first of the month, we'd read Proverbs 1 as a family, and then practicing picking out what verse like stood out to us the most, and then sharing it and, telling everybody, explaining why it stood out to us. And so that's kind of cool that we both grew up doing that. But, so I think being a teenager and going through a rough patch in my life and just being so desperate for God pushed me to, I have to practice that every day of, reading the Word and practicing, listening to Him and His voice and finding Him. And it's just so important. And,
Do you think God allows circumstances? Do you think sometimes God allows circumstances that we resist, but He's really allowing them to bring us closer to Him in a worship relationship?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we might not ever know why, some things are happening or why we're walking through certain things, but.
Do you find, that statement right there, we might not never know why. We've talked a lot about that, not on camera, obviously, we've been married a long time, but there are trials that we've walked through that we have, I guess now at this point, I don't know, I've never talked to you about this. This is the first time I'm saying this, I guess, and there are times and periods in our life and circumstances that we've been through separately, but now also together as a married couple, that I cannot tell you why that happened. Yeah. And I can't even tell you that I'm going to fully understand completely this side of heaven why. And yet I'm living in incredible peace in knowing that God's on the throne and I'm not.
Yeah.
Why is it that I cannot know the answer to why and it still have peace? Where do you think that's found? Where is it? Where have you found it?
Where have I found it? In Jesus. And
I'm not looking for a different. I'm not saying this like I'm trying to trip you up or look for a different answer. I talk about that.
Yeah. So we've been through a number of things, and we're walking through some difficulty right now in life, and just having the, you go through things in life and you look back. And so, for example, I'm not going to go into depth too much about this right now. Probably talk about it sometime, or have like a specific
coming in other times
podcast.
On stuff we didn't say on Sunday.
When we went through our miscarriages and those losses, and just something profound really hit me several years after that. I was just looking back through pictures, and I found a family picture, and we're just all there smiling, and it was like God was speaking to me. And I'm gonna get emotional.
Sorry, I'm gonna mess your makeup up. My fault.
This is real and raw. So, but just looking back and thinking, look at the joy that was on my face. How do you carry that joy when you're in such deep pain? And it's just knowing that God is in control and I'm not. And like you said, we go through things. We're never gonna maybe never know why earthside, but just the comfort that we take in him, and knowing that he does everything for a reason and he's always good, even if life is rough. And just it's such a blessing to be a Christian and to just have the comfort of him. I could not imagine going through life and not having his peace and his comfort, and just always having access to him because he's always there. And so
has there been some special class you've taken to teach you that point? Has there been some special medicine that you've taken to get you to this point? Has there been some special, I don't know.
It's just the going through things and then looking back and going, okay, God carried me through that, so I know he's going to carry me through this, even if it doesn't make sense.
That is, I mean, I love you for a number of reasons, but you're vulnerable, real, tough. Like, she's not very big, but I would never, ever get on the wrong side of this woman. She is tough. She is determined. I be careful. When I did these sermons in this series, and by the way, I don't often I do not remember ever. This might be the first time stuff we didn't say on Sunday, crew. I don't think I've ever pushed my own stuff. Like, you should go and check my. But I feel really passionately about this worship series, and so if you haven't, if you're bumping into this and you haven't watched that series, I would encourage you to, because I think some of what I've observed both in my wife and in my family and in her family and in just people around, I've kind of condensed and packed based on years of all this theology training and whatnot, kind of a really concise theological approach to what worship actually is. I'd encourage you to watch that. But yes. The reason that I started every single one by talking about, finally by week 3, I was going, look, skill is overrated. Because I think people think that in order to be, I don't know, in order to have the perception that, like, well, you walk with God and you have a rhythm with God because you have some special super skill you were born with and the rest of us weren't. Like, you're amazing, but you don't have some special crazy hidden talent skill that made you like this.
No, I just want to encourage you guys right now. That's exactly right what he's saying. You don't need skill. Maybe you grew up in, maybe you're a new Christian, or you grew up in a home where you weren't exposed to, church and things like that. Worship is not just when you come in on Sunday morning and, you're just singing to God, and maybe you're not singing because you're afraid your voice isn't good or whatever, I just want to encourage you right now to practice worshiping him just by saying, hey, God, I love you. Thank you for putting your opening up your heart to God on a daily basis, just praying, asking God to help you to hear from him, open up the Bible.
I really am burdened. Sorry, you were making me emotional earlier there, and now my big nose is draining. Have you ever stopped to think about something? I'm left-handed and I have a huge nose, which means it's harder for me than you. Everything in the world is set up for your right hand. I have to reach across my body for everything. And when I have drip,
oh dear,
guys, it's like,
wow.
You see how big this nose is? Like, can you imagine the drip coming out? It's like a gushing waterfall.
It's a perfect nose, though.
You don't believe
that?
No,
I do believe that. I believe it's perfect. I'm sorry. I think this is probably my hair, but it's hanging on you. And I've been staring at that the whole time.
She grooms me in public. And she tells me not to talk out loud in public. It's like her favorite thing to do. You come here, you have something in your teeth. Also, lower your voice. No one wants to hear about the sound of the internet. Like, oh, I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's true.
I sound harsh today.
No, that's my inner dialogue voice.
And
that's my
and everything he's saying is accurate.
Wow, write that down.
It is accurate. Yeah.
I am particularly passionate for people to really get, but I mean, other than continuing to keep saying the same things over and over again, and even invite you into spaces like this. Like, the reason that we're doing this is not to gain followers or followership, or there's no book sale or pitch or anything coming at the end of this. I really want people to grab a hold of the idea that there's not some special skill set or some different thing that you have to do in order to walk this life of worship, or even walk this life of surrender to Jesus. I mean, am I safe to say we're kind of normal?
Yes.
Average people?
We are very normal. Very average. Yeah.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I mean, you're amazing. I'm not terrible, but you know.
Yeah, but no, that's completely accurate.
Because what we're talking about, we really are. Like, I almost feel like people are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, no, there's some other thing that you've done. No, we read the Bible, we pray, we practice what's in the Bible, and we daily look for ways to go counter, meaning against, our flesh,
yes, how
we naturally feel. And so what that's meant after, how long have you been walking with Jesus?
Yeah, since I was 6.
Okay. I literally just went, wait a minute. I just asked you to tell people how old you were on camera. I'm sorry. I won't do that again.
Though, I did it the way a woman would, since I was 6. I didn't tell you how long it's been since I was 6.
Well, that's...
See?
I almost then said the number, since you were 6, and that's when I was like, oh, she's going to get mad at me. Regardless, though, you've been walking with Jesus decades, at least 2 decades.
34 years. Yep. There you go. There you have it.
I wasn't trying to drag that out of you. You're stunning and gorgeous, and not
Thank you.
Gorgeous for 40. You're gorgeous for gorgeous.
Thank
and you're 40. And I'm younger than you. Like, that's just weird that you would go for a younger guy. But anyway,
sure.
The thing is, what I've discovered, and you can say, Chris, you're crazy, you're out of your mind. I find that the daily discipline of walking with Jesus, and by daily discipline, I mean getting up in the morning and choosing, not my will, but your will be done. The really daily, simple thing of doing that for a long time yields benefits down the road that people want after, like, day 30.
Yes.
Talk about the grind and why it's so important to help your kids discover that, because kids are like, especially nowadays, kids are like, I ordered it. If it's not here within 24 hours, you know what I mean? Like, when we were kids, you ordered stuff and you had to wait forever. Now our kids don't know anything other than same day or next day delivery.
That's true.
For everything. So talk about what it is to, like, take a family through the grind of going, you're not going to get everything you want. This is about a daily sort of discipline.
I actually feel like, as you're saying this, I'm thinking about one of our children and math, really, because, all right, so I cannot, we homeschool. I cannot stand math.
It's pronounced homeschool.
I just don't know. It's not my favorite thing to do.
I'm resisting the urge to make a shopping joke. It is not her favorite thing.
It's not. So
have you added this up?
No. So
we need 5 apple juices. Okay.
So anyway, I feel like when it comes to a child that is struggling in math, Chris has stepped in helping with this math, because he's actually a genius when it comes to math. He's really, really smart.
Overstated.
No, he's really smart. So anyway, just we have a certain child that just does not like math. And so this year we've taken a different approach of just, we're going to start slowly and we're not going to rush through. And, you know, in their mind, they just want it all. They want all the knowledge. They want to just speed through. But when you do it deliberately and consistently, how the things add up. And so I feel like...
That's a math statement. Consistently, deliberately, they add up.
Yeah, no pun. Yeah. Okay, so I feel like that's very similar to your devotional life, and growing your relationship with Jesus is just being deliberate and consistent. And I also want to. Were you going to say something?
No, please.
I also want to add having a heart of gratitude, of just being grateful, even if
You're talking about this helps your worship heart.
yeah,
Absolutely.
even if you're walking through those difficult times, like I was talking about, having a heart of gratitude and constantly being in a place where you're, like posturing your heart. Is that such a Christian term?
Posturing your heart?
Your heart.
I don't know. I think only the Christians use it, but I get what you're saying.
Towards God. And so
Orienting your heart?
yeah.
The non-Christians like the word orient.
Opening up your heart to God. And so, like, one of the ways that I practice this is, we're talking about like reading the Bible and having a good prayer life, and a very, very practical way is to turn on. Now we're talking about worship in different ways. We're talking about how you worship, with singing and music, and then also worship not with singing, but
We get it. We've all watched the series.
Yeah, I'll watch the worship series. Actually, it is really good. But anyway, turning on worship music. There's so many times I feel like if I'm really stressed
in the series.
if I'm really, really stressed, that is my go-to. That is my I just need to turn on worship music and just
Because I got to grab hold of my attitude. I got to grab hold of the atmosphere in this room and drag it up from.
Yes.
I can. If anybody can speak to attitude, my lady, let a pro.
Okay,
speak.
go ahead.
But yeah, my attitude can go south quick, and if I'm not careful to surround myself with choosing to not just exercise my will, but to actually set myself up to be able to exercise my will.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm in a funk, how much of a funk am I in, Rachel? If I'm in a funk.
Well, yeah, I don't think that we should be talking about this. We could have maybe another episode on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that would take a full.
Wow. I grew up a musician. So, I mean, let's never forget that in the midst of all this, I am a creative, artistic
musician
wiring.
to the core.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to give myself some credit, but dang, I'm an artist in my soul.
That's true,
I
yes.
just want to go sit barefoot in a field and paint. I don't really.
I was going to say, you're not very good at painting, though.
No, I'm not very good at painting. I do like sitting in fields,
Yeah.
but not barefoot. That's gross.
Yeah,
There are bugs,
that's true.
and there is grass. Sorry, last thing.
ahead.
No, this is ridiculous, but when you walk barefoot in the yard,
Oh.
I hate the feeling of grass. Am I like,
No,
do I need help? Do you hate the feeling of grass? Or do you like walking barefoot?
We love the feeling of sand, like when we're at the beach. That's different.
Sand's different. Sand is exfoliating.
But we don't like the feeling of sand in the sandhills in our backyard.
No. That feels like red clay and punishment.
That's what it's like here. But grass.
I'm sorry, that's what it's like here, as if the flowing grass of New Jersey was somehow better than the flowing grass of North Carolina.
Well, we live in the sandhills here.
It's descending.
So,
Anyway, let's land this plane, Rachel.
yeah.
Sum up for us what you feel is a really important take home for the people. What's something that either we've said or in the series or something that's really jumped out to you recently that you grabbed hold of about helping your heart orient towards worship and towards God? 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so one of the things that I think is important to us is, and I'm not going to bring this up because it was when you mentioned about your family and your gratitude towards your family.
Yeah.
And of course that was special to me because that made me cry. He gave me a shout out. It was very, very sweet. But just that.
Oh, you meant the series.
In the series.
I was like,
just the fact that worshiping is having that heart of gratitude and constantly, and you can look for things even if you're not feeling grateful right now. Look for those things. For example, sit in a field. I was just talking with my friend Stephanie. Watch the birds.
who we also met in the choir.
We did actually, but
You can't see her. She's on the other end of that camera, and there's no way she would come around. But if she could.
But the joy of watching birds migrate. If you like that, if that brings you joy, please comment because I would like to know. I love watching the birds migrate south. To me, I feel like it's a sign that fall is here and the season is changing and cooler weather is on the way. And to me,
And it's 92 degrees outside.
to me, and also to Stephanie, I feel like that brings so much joy. And anyway, things like that, joy.
That's great.
Finding
Sounds overly simplistic to say.
It does.
But a life of worship is remembering, listen, the chief end of humankind. Now I'm going to get all theological on you, and we're going to let you go. The chief end of humankind, the only thing, the only species created in God's image, the chief end of humankind is to enjoy Him forever, to glorify Him and enjoy Him forever. Enjoying the fact that you're alive, enjoying worship, joy and enjoying Him and enjoying others and enjoying life, regardless of the struggles and the difficulty that comes, is an act of worship. It is both the reward. The journey is part of the reward. I can't speak. Sorry, you're that good looking. You tongue tie me. Anyway, we'll see you back here next time. We'll do some more of these.
Yeah.
These are fun.
Yeah,
I think so. If this helped you or this blessed you, or there's even a topic where you go, you know what, I'd like to hear you two knuckleheads go on and on and on about this topic, drop us a line in the comments.
Also, I would love to hear ways that you worship too. Drop those in the comments.
That would be helpful.
That would be great.
Yep, we'll reply when we can. See you next time.